Our first Communicator of the Year award recipient was nominated by the Saginaw County Farm Bureau. Please direct your attention to the screens to see why Delta Broadcasting's Mike Redford is Michigan Farm Bureau's 2013 Agricultural Communicator of the Year in the broadcast category.
Mike Redford is the host of Second Act, Life at 50 Plus, a show produced by Joe Yezak for QTV at Delta College that serves Saginaw, Midland, and Bay counties.
Farming in mid-Michigan is big business, and the 50-plus crowd is a big part of it. That's why on Second Act we are starting a series of reports on farming and why so many more of us need to take notice.
The general public does not really care or have a special interest, and in the things that we don't have an interest in, we're not too curious.
Ralph Fromm is a patriarch of a 4-generation family of farmers from Saginaw County. His son Eric has taken over now, and he too thinks the general public has a lot to learn when it comes to the importance of agriculture in our communities.
It's one thing that food touches everybody's lives every day, but a lot of people take it for granted. We got stores that are open 24 hours a day, and usually shelves are stocked and they can get what they need. But it is important to understand the whole food process, where it comes from.
As the farming industry changed and grew, it might surprise you to learn that land conservation methods have gotten better over time.
In the horse-drawn days, everything was done by with horses, old steam engine or big steam engines, and plowing the soil, and which caused a lot of soil erosion. You remember the Dust Bowl days out in the Corn Belt. A lot of soil got blown away because it was being opened up. Today we are going into more of a conservation tillage, leaving the old crop residue on the surface and conserving the soil.
One person who may not have the time to attend one of our local summer festivals is Brian Frederick. That's because he'll be too busy maintaining his family's centennial farm in the Hemlock area. In our continuing series on farming and the 50-plus crowd, you'll meet this 4th-generation farmer.
The Frederick farm has been around since 1883. Brian Frederick is the latest in a long line of Fredericks working the family farm.
I'm proud of it. As you see from the yard, I love to keep the yard up and keep the buildings up, and it's this farm, it's been in the family for well over 100 years, and there ain't many people can say that. So we actually got this farm and then another farm that's in a family for 100 years. So that's something to strive to keep. It's always a struggle.
It's fall, and for many that means a trip to your local apple orchard for cider, food, and fun. And the 50-plus crowd is a big part of it, particularly for a couple of apple orchard owners we caught up with.
This is a typical scene at Lehman's Green Apple Barn in Freeland. Big crowds on a fall day to taste the cider, eat their favorite apples and pies, and take in the many family-friendly activities. But long before the crowds come, there is a lot going on in the orchards behind the scenes, particularly for Jay Reisinger, who helps run this family farm business.
Lehman's Green Apple Barn is a centennial farm. It was originally came into the family in the late 1880s. 7 generations have worked on this farm. I'm generation number 5. My generation 4, my father is still very active on the farm, and then our children are beginning to be active on the farm. And then, of course, I have grandchildren. They're more taste testers at this point.
And that is our show for today, but be sure to join us again on April 7th for the next Second Act, Life at 50-plus. I'm Mike Redford. Have a great day.
For his accurate and informative reporting on farming in mid-Michigan, Mike Redford is the 2013 Michigan Farm Bureau Communicator of the Year for broadcast.
At this time, I'd like to ask Mike to please join me on stage. Congratulations. Mike, it's my privilege to present to you the Michigan Farm Bureau 2013 Communicator of the Year Award.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm just very humbled and grateful to be recognized for this award. And while I'm the one getting the attention for it, for our farm coverage, our show is very much a team effort. So I want to recognize Joe Yezak. Joe, stand up. Joe is the photographer, editor, and he's also the program director at WDCQ-TV, so I think he deserves a round of applause. I also want to thank our friends at the Saginaw County Farm Bureau. They were really easy to work with in helping us prepare these pieces and ultimately nominated us for this award, so I'm thankful for them as well. Our show, Second Act Life at 50 Plus, could very well be called Second Act Life Begins at 50 Plus, because I truly believe the 50 plus crowd is like fine wine. We only get better with age. That's not to say those of us in the 50 plus crowd, and surprise, surprise, I'm in that age group, don't have challenges physically and otherwise from time to time, and we tackle medical issues in most every show. But most of our stories profile folks in the 50 plus crowd who are doing amazing things that they weren't doing at that age a generation ago. Volunteering, starting new businesses, traveling the globe, running marathons, coaching our kids, and leading our communities through civic and church involvement. These people are truly inspiring and serve as a motivation to me and others that you can have great purpose in your life and accomplish great things even when you're in the 50 plus crowd in age or 100 plus, a lot of those out there as well. And that certainly goes for the folks in the agricultural community who we got to profile. I've had a heart and a passion to tell stories about what's really happening in the lives of farm families since my first real TV job in Decatur, Illinois, about 30 years ago. Decatur was the soybean capital of the world at the time, may still be. And for a city kid, it was quite a culture shock, particularly in my first week when I was asked to compete in a cow chip throwing contest. I didn't even know what a cow chip was. Well, my knowledge and respect for farming has grown immensely since, and for the record, it's important to say my family and I have done our share of work down on the farm, planting, hoeing, and harvesting Hubbard squash on a farm in Frankenmuth for a few years now. In addition, my son Kent, who's here, he's a Grand Valley State University student, he also worked as a farmhand a few summers on another family farm near where we live. He'd come back each day exhausted but full of colorful stories and a great respect for farm life, saying, quote, "Man, do they work hard, particularly the mom." Agriculture, as you know, is the backbone of this country, and yet I think the public in general really takes it for granted as long as the milk, meat, and produce are on the grocery store shelves, all is well. The second it isn't there, that's when we take notice, don't we? So I felt compelled to get your stories out there wherever my broadcasting career has taken me, from Decatur to Lansing to Detroit and finally to the mid-Michigan area, where Frankenmuth is the place I've called home with my family for 17 years. Aside from what you do in agriculture, I'm inspired by who you are, what you stand for, how you go about running your farms, and more importantly, how you go about raising your families. With a tireless work ethic based on strong values and ethics and faith passed on from one generation to the next. Those are traits our country was founded on and needs to get back to. Put a farmer in the White House, and I like our chances of turning things around. Trust me, I'd be there to cover it. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Thanks again for this great award. I am truly honored. Have a great day, and God's blessings.